And now it's time for our weekly examination of the left-leaning media world with media writer for the Australian newspaper, Sophie Elsworth. Now, Sophie, we were all glued to our sets on Saturday for the big coronation. But as we've been saying, the national broadcaster ruined the once-in-a-lifetime spectacle for an awful lot of people. Let's have a tiny little reminder of how that went.
An institution that's perpetrated colonisation all around the world at the expense of First Nations peoples and people of colour.
Because the symbol of that crown represented the invasion, the theft of land, and in our case, the exterminating war, which next year will mark 200 years.
So many of our beautiful multicultural communities have also suffered, under this exact, a colonisation process and the like.
Sophie, this was a bit much, even by the ABC's low standards, wasn't it?
James, I was watching this live on Saturday evening and was left nothing short of disgraced watching what was unfolding on the public broadcaster. They may as well have switched off the coronation coverage because there was virtually no discussion about the actual event itself. It was just a 1-hour hate fest on the monarchy and this great nation that Australia is. There was no balance on that panel. They were all yes supporters in the Indigenous voice to Parliament. And it was really a shameful episode in the ABC's history. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event that was simply taken over by journalists parading as activists and the commentators on the panel. And I think the ABC have a lot to answer for, James.
Well, have they started to answer for this at all, Sophie? Have they defended their coverage, or are they just doing their usual thing where they stick their fingers in their ears and attack anybody who criticizes them?
Well, my colleague James Madden and I put questions to Chair Ita Buttrose. She simply handballed them to the ABC Corporate Affairs team. The ABC Corporate Affairs team, of course, defended it and said they have a diversity of views on the panel. And I am arguing also here, James, that the ABC board has a statutory obligation to enforce the charter of the ABC. They are not doing that. So where is David Anderson? Where is Ita Buttrose? They are asleep at the wheel and they are letting the broadcaster spew out this what Ray Hadley described as bile during such an historic event.
Well, I mean, it was bile. It wasn't just, having a robust discussion about the monarchy or the republic or whatever. That's fine. You can do that. But a lot of that stuff was just completely out there. Now, I know that around The Voice, the ABC presenters were asked to undergo impartiality training. But clearly, that message isn't getting through, is it, Sophie?
James, the impartiality training has failed miserably at the ABC, and I would say that their staff need to do it again because it's not working, and whoever is running their editorial content should be hauled before Senate estimates, or David Anderson should be, to answer what on earth was going on during this coverage, because they have a lot of questions that are yet to be answered.
Now, Sophie, I want to shift gears a bit to a sort of more serious story even than this. Australian journalist Cheng Lei is about to mark a sad milestone of 1,000 days behind bars in Beijing, accused of, well, leaking state secrets, but we don't really even know exactly the nature of the charges. You've done some work on this, as have I. Have you heard any sign that she'll be released at all soon?
Well, James, unfortunately, there's no good news on Cheng Lei's front. Her verdict to her trial has been extended yet again. I reported that in The Australian last week. The earliest a verdict will be given is July. She will reach 1,000 days behind bars on Wednesday. This is a very shocking case for a mother of two who has her 2 children in Melbourne living with her mother, so the children's grandmother, has not seen Lei for a couple of years now, and there's no end in sight. And the government has to make sure that this changes, and changes very soon, James.
And very quickly, have you spoken to anybody in her family about how they're holding up, very quickly?
Spoken to her partner, Nick Coyle. He's optimistic, but he's also realistic. And this, I don't think, will be resolved, unfortunately, anytime soon, James.
Sophie Elsworth, it's a terrible story, and we do hope that Chenglei has some freedom sometime soon. It's a terrible story. So thank you so much for joining me this evening.